Can you repeat that, please? Should I continue?
Summarize the subject we had discussed before, and then you can read ahead.
Ji Raja. So during last class, we discussed that some devotees do seva after they're initiated because they want wealth and they want other worldly things in return for their seva. And some other devotees do it because they want to be released from the cycle of birth and death, and they want to be released from the sorrows of living on earth. But you should do seva because you want to, and because you understand that you should. And then lastly, some people want to do seva through the path of knowledge and through Ved and the scriptures. So that's what we covered in the last class.
Yeah, continue.
Devotion for knowledge. Those who have obtained a little knowledge of the Supreme Self are curious to know Him perfectly. Such people also contain desire to obtain liberation through the path of knowledge. They are called Jinasu Bhakt in Gita. Devotion of the learned. Some seekers who have already obtained perfect knowledge of the Supreme Self turn to devotion of Bhagavan with desire to merge their own self in the universal self of Brahma. Out of such knowledgeable seekers, some devotees turn to the devotion of Bhagavan, thinking that none but Bhagavan is worthy of worship. Such devotees are called learned devotees in the Gita. Arthari, Antra, and Jignasu types of beings perform worship of Bhagavan.
It is pronounced as Artharthi.
Artharthi.
Yes.
And Artha and Jignasu types of beings do perform worship of Bhagavan, but the devotion is rather more self-oriented. It is performed with the desire to obtain their own subject and not to add to the happiness of Bhagavan. Hence, the devotion aims at attainment of their own interest. It is devotion with desire, or sakama. If these least smell of self-centeredness in devotion, devotion gets distorted. Deviation with worldly desires is condemned by Bhagavan.
Devotion.
So it's saying that the people that are Antrarti or Jignasu, that means they do seva for Bhagavan for like selfish purposes and for their own goals, and they know the Ved and they're learned, but they're doing seva for the wrong reasons, and this type of devotion can get very distorted and off track.
See, basically, the multiple motives or nature of devotion are being discussed here. So, first of all, the three varieties which are discussed by Bhagavan in Bhagavad Gita are discussed here: Artharthi, Arth, and Jigyas. Artharthi means the one who is having devotion in Bhagavan with the intention of achieving something as a result of devotion. Means I want something from Bhagavan and therefore I am his devotee. Arth means the one who is very sad and out of his sorrow he is a devotee of Krishna. Jigyasu means the one who is curious. So these are the three varieties of devotees, but Bhagavan has not appreciated these three motives of devotion. Means the one who is expecting something from Bhagavan is not a good person. One who is just being curious, even he is not a proper person. And the one who is performing devotion of Bhagavan out of his sorrow and sadness and wants to achieve some relief from his problems through devotion, even that motive is not appreciated by Mahaprabhuji.
I have one question.
Yes.
So I thought like when we started off, we were supposed to do the Seva of Bhagavan because we were like interested and
Sorry,
we
your
wanted to.
voice is not clear. Voice is not clear.
Sorry, I'll try again. So I thought when we started to do Seva, we started because we wanted to learn more and we were curious and we were supposed to do that. And then as we continued doing Seva, we got that love. So is that still wrong in the beginning?
I'm sorry, Suraj, your voice is not clear. I'm not able to understand.
I'll try one more time. Sorry. Can you guys hear me better now?
Yeah. Now you can speak.
So, in the beginning when you're starting to do Seva, are you not supposed to start because you're intrigued and curious, and then as you continue doing Seva, you get that love?
See, out of curiousness, we cannot perform Seva. First of all, we understand the concepts, we go through the scriptures of Mahaprabhuji, understand the rules and regulations and sentiments behind the bhakti properly, and only after that we can start performing Seva. So in the stage of just being curious about the sampradaya, we cannot perform Seva. During that period, we are just supposed to learn things.
Ji Raja.
Because in the learning period, we are not stable. We are not able to understand the concept properly, and at that particular stage, we are not stable about our decision, or we are not even stable about our likings, what we are loving to do, or are we really able to understand and accept the concept or not. So during that period, we are not supposed to perform Seva. We are just allowed to go through the scriptures and understand things well, and only after we realize that this is what we would like to do throughout our life, and these are the concepts which we would like to implement in our life, only then, after being stable about our decision, we can start performing Seva. Not until the period when we are not very clear about our understanding and decision.
Ji Raja, I understand. Nirguna Pushtibhakti. When we come into contact with learned persons, we expect different behaviors of them. Whereas our expectations change when we face an illiterate person. Thus, our expectations differ from person to person. Similarly, expectations of Bhagavan also varies with reference to the background being comes from. For example, Bhagavan expects that the being must be free from every kind of worldly and otherworldly desire, at least from his devotion. When he comes through the devotional path of Pushti, propounded by Sri Vallabhacharya, therefore, Bhagavan does not accept devotion that is performed with any kind of above-mentioned desire in the devotional path of Pushti. Hence, if devotion is performed with purity in mind and without any desire, worldly or otherworldly, fruit, or even liberation, other such devotion is accepted by Bhagavan in the devotional path of Pushti. Therefore, the devotees who perform such pure-minded devotion are considered by Bhagavan as the best devotees. Extolling the sentiment of Pushtibhakti in Bhagavan says, "My Pushti devotees who constantly perform my worship without entering any sort of desire through devotion do not accept even liberation in return for my worship." So that's saying whenever you do seva, you shouldn't do it because you want something. So it should be completely selfless, and you should just do it because you want to and you want to serve Bhagavan. So there shouldn't be any like bad sentiment for like getting worldly or otherworldly things. And Bhagavan appreciates when you don't do that, and that's the best kind of worship.
See here, the Nirgun word means that we are not influenced by anything for having devotion for Krishna. We are just performing devotion for the sake of our love towards Bhagavan. So Bhagavan expects that the being must be free from all the kinds of desires, may it be worldly or outer worldly. Means I must not expect anything as a result of bhakti or seva. I love Krishna, and out of that love towards Bhagavan, I am performing his seva, or I am his devotee. So here, as Bhagavan is explaining, that my Pushti devotees who constantly perform the worship of Bhagavan without entertaining any sort of desire. So even if Bhagavan wants to give you any result, the devotee would feel that no, I don't want anything as a result. I don't want anything, I don't expect anything from Bhagavan. As I think before we had discussed the topic during that time, I had given the example of Prahlad. So when Bhagavan saved Prahlad, he was very happy with the dedication and love of Prahlad. So Bhagavan asked him if he wanted anything. So Prahlad answered that, "Bless me that I don't get any desire in my mind from you." Means bless me that I become free from all the desires. So this is what he demanded. So the thing is that Bhagavan, we love Bhagavan, and love cannot expect anything. We don't want anything in return. We don't want anything as the result of devotion, and everything is being done only with the sentiment of love towards Bhagavan. This is what we mean by the word Nirguna Pushtibhakti, and the antonym of this word will be Saguna Bhakti, and Saguna Bhakti cannot be accepted in our sampradaya. Saguna Bhakti would mean that we are expecting something as the result. Maybe it may be liberation, or it can be the worldly desires also. So Saguna Bhakti is not allowed in our sampradaya, in the sampradaya of Sri Mahaprabhuji. We just have the concept of Nirguna Pushti Bhakti, in which we don't expect anything from Bhagavan. And therefore Mahaprabhuji explained the example of Yamuna ji before starting the Shodas Granth, as Yamuna ji is a Nirguna Pushti Bhakt. So her devotion towards Krishna is considered as the ideal devotion for all the Pushti beings. Continue.
A true devotee of Bhagavan considers liberation
Wait.
as...
Someone is asking. Yeah, any question?
Raja, Dandavat Pranam. Actually,
Yes.
I have a question for devotion for knowledge. So here, Jigyasu Bhakta are considered as like they are for Gyan Margiya Bhakta.
Yes, basically for Gyan Margi. And we can even understand the stage when we are performing devotion or seva of Bhagwan only out of considering it as our duty, not out of love. Even that stage is considered as Jigyasu Bhakta. We are considering Krishna Bhakti as our duty, but we don't have that love towards Krishna. Even that stage is considered as Jigyasu Bhakti. Now progress is possible, that's a different thing, but that stage is considered as Jigyasu Bhakti.
Ji Raja, because I was thinking like the definition of bhakti is itself Mahatma Jan Purvasya Sudrad Sarvato Adhik Sneh. So if there is no knowledge of Brahman, then how can we have the Sneha? Because as I actually explained that before doing seva, we should know everything and then we should start doing seva. So, but the process of getting the gyan is like it's not like we can achieve before seva. It's lifetime we have to go for it. So that's what I was thinking.
No, we are not condemning this concept. What we have to understand here is that if I am performing service of Krishna throughout my life, considering it as my duty, then what sort of enjoyment will Krishna have from my seva? He won't be happy. The second thing is that the Mahatma Gyan has to be is supposed to be expected in the first stage of bhakti, and along with Mahatma Gyan, even we develop the feeling of love towards Krishna. So we are not just equating this with Gyan Marg, but if it is like the sentiments of Gyan Margi, then we cannot title that devotion as Pushtibhakti.
Okay, so Gyan Margi don't have any love. They just want to know Brahman. That's it. That's why it's not considerable.
Yes, they won't be able to develop the sentiment of love for Bhagavan.
Ji Raja, now I understand.
And therefore Mahaprabhuji is explaining in Shastra Prakaran that possibly at any stage of his life, if a Gyanmargi is attaining accidentally, if he is having the feeling of love for Bhagavan, then that Gyani Bhakta is considered as the best person. No one is greater than that Gyani Bhakta, but this happens accidentally only. If he remains Gyani and otherwise he remains Bhakta. But at some stage, if suddenly a Gyani develops the sentiments of love for Bhagavan, then that Gyani Bhakta attains a Sayujya in Krishna and not in Akshar Brahma. Gyani chet bhajate Krishnam tasmat nastyadhika parah. These are the words of Sri Mahaprabhu.
Ji Raja.
Okay. Yes, Suraj, you can continue now.
A true devotee of Bhagwan considers liberation just as a worthless and insignificant thing in comparison with Bhagwan's worship, as the life of a devotee is solitary devotion to the service of Bhagwan. That is why Bhagwan himself accepts the superiority of such devotion. Sri Vallabhacharya ordains the followers of Pushti to perform Bhagwan's worship only for the sake of his delight. Krishna Seva Sadakarya, meaning service of Bhagwan Sri Krishna should be performed necessarily forever. So it's saying that liberation is not your goal. Worshipping Bhagwan is your goal, and worshipping Bhagwan is the fruit, and that's what you should work towards. Should I keep reading?
No. See, the concept is that a true devotee of Bhagavan, he feels that liberation is worthless and insignificant thing if I am achieving Bhagavan's worship. So being with Bhagavan, worshipping Bhagavan is considered more greater even than liberation for a devotee. So the devotee would feel that I want to stay here, I want to perform service and seva of Bhagavan throughout my life, and even in my next birth, I just want seva of Bhagavan. So if I will attain liberation, I will be merged in the form of Bhagavan, then what sort of happiness can I achieve by being in Bhagavan? If I want to be able to serve Bhagavan using my body and my sensory organs. So service and seva for Bhagavan, because I considered myself a servant and a slave of Krishna, and I considered Krishna as my Swami or my Malik. So when we are considering Bhagavan as a greater, as our Swami, and we consider that we are just a devotee of Bhagavan and a slave of Bhagavan, then obviously that person would like to perform service of Bhagavan and would not be interested in achieving liberation. So we love Bhagavan, we have devotion towards Bhagavan, and for the sake of devotion we are devotees of Krishna, and we are not expecting anything else from Bhagavan.
Raja.
Fine, so I think we are, no, we can go through the next paragraph. Fine, continue.
Service is necessity, not duty. According to Sri Vallabhacharya, service of Sri Krishna is not a duty, but is a requirement. It is an inevitable necessity. Words like duty and obligation fall short of evaluating service. Instincts like eating and breathing are natural among animals to sustain their life. These activities are inborn in them. A living being needs no instruction as to the acts of eating or breathing. Similarly, service of Sri Krishna is a necessity for Pushti beings. Sri Vallabhacharya says that the very existence of a flower of Pushti devotion is meaningless without Sri Krishna's service. Here's a question arises. If Sri Krishna's service is a necessity, why don't Pushti beings become automatically aware of the necessity today? So it's saying that if you're like an actual Pushti being, that means you'll do service and seva of Bhagavan, and you won't even have to think about it. It's just an instinct, and it's natural for some people.
So when we are explaining the concept of Nirgun Pushtibhakti, we want to explain is that we are not performing service of Sri Krishna out of duty. We don't consider it as our duty. We don't feel that we are doing this for anyone, for the sake of anyone. We, as the process of eating and breathing are our necessities, we cannot survive without those activities. Same way, our devotion and service towards Shri Krishna must be very natural, out of our nature, and it must be a necessity for us that we cannot survive without doing this. So Pushti devotion is meaningless without Krishna's service. So if Krishna's service is not necessity, then why won't Pushti beings become automatically aware of the necessities today? So the thing is that we must perform the seva of Bhagavan out of our necessity. It must be a natural process for us. It is true that during the initial stage we don't feel so. We are supposed to force ourselves for performing seva, but if we remain, being attached with the same process for a long time, we develop a natural feeling of performing seva of Shri Krishna, and we feel that we must be a devotee of Krishna, and this is what our heart wants to do is. So it becomes very natural for us, and the process remains very clear in our mind about seva, and we feel that this is our necessity and we cannot survive without seva. So this happens after we go through the initial stage. In the initial stage, it is quite possible that we are forcing ourselves to do so, but after some stage we start performing seva and we have the love towards Krishna, and it becomes a very natural process for us. And when it becomes a natural process for us, that period is considered as the stage of Nirguna Pushtibhakti, in which we are a Pushti devotee now. I hope the subject is clear. If there are any questions, we will discuss it tomorrow. Let us conclude here today.
Dandavat Pranam Raja.